Welcome to the Perrysburg Podcast, episode 16. I am your host, Kim Newlove. The Perrysburg Podcast is an informational podcast for prospective, new, and current Perrysburg, Ohio residents. We talk about what's in Perrysburg and why people like to live here. You can find the show notes for this episode on perrysburgpodcast.com. In honor of Veterans Day, which is November 11th annually, we're talking about American Legion Post 28 in Perrysburg, Ohio. It is located at 130 West Indiana Avenue. The building goes by the name of Schaller Memorial. The Schaller Memorial Building is also used as a voting destination on election days. I actually happened to go into it for the first time ever on Election Day this week. And the building can also be rented for family and community events. If you're interested in renting the Schaller Memorial Building, you can contact the City of Perrysburg's Department of Public Service to get your event on their schedule. Rental prices and a link to a virtual tour of Schaller Memorial are on the City of Perrysburg's website. The virtual tour is a YouTube video. It is less than 2 minutes long. I'll have a link to that and the contact information for renting the building in the show notes on perrysburgpodcast.com. I have lived in Perrysburg since 2007, and I knew very little about American Legion Post 28 and the Schaller Memorial Building until I did my research for this episode. To help me learn more about the post, I interviewed Craig Gauger from Post 28 to find out more. During our interview, I learned more about what our local post does for Perrysburg, their monthly meeting schedule, their upcoming feather party on November 18th, the upcoming Photos with Santa event coming up on November 20th, and more. I also learned that if you're a Perrysburg area veteran or you're still in active duty, you can join Post 28. They are always recruiting new members. Craig's contact information is in the show notes, phone and email. After you listen to the interview, get in touch with Craig and join Post 28 today. Now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Craig Gauger. Hi, Craig. Welcome to the Perrysburg Podcast. Thanks for being with me today.
Glad to be here.
Happy Veterans Day to you. Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
I understand that you are the commander at Legion Post 28 in Perrysburg, Ohio. Is that right?
Immediate past commander. I was commander up till July, and we had a new officer change. So now I'm the adjutant finance officer, which means I'm the secretary and the treasurer.
Okay. Well, thank you for being with me today. I got your name from Marie Dunn over at the City of Perrysburg. She's the public information officer, and she said you'd be a good person to speak to about the Perrysburg Legion Post 28.
Well, we're trying to do good things over there, so maybe I'm the one.
I think you're the one. Can you tell me a little bit about the Legion Hall itself, Schaller Memorial?
I don't remember his first name. It was Mr. Schaller and a bunch of group in 1919 decided that we should have a Legion Hall in Perrysburg. So he donated the money. That's why it's called the Schaller Memorial Hall. The veterans ran the hall ever since then. But in the 1960s, they realized it was built on city property. So then they asked the city to take care of the maintenance of the building, because up till then, the veterans have been doing it. We have a good arrangement. We have the use of the building for life. If anything, repairs needed, the city is really good at doing that. So we provide activities and fundraising for veterans.
Thank you for sharing that. I noticed that out front, there's a sign that says there's a meeting the second Monday of every month, 7 p.m. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, though we have about 130 members, we may get 12 to 20 come to a meeting, and we talk about things that we might spend money on, or to help some organization. We've helped Perrysburg Christians United with food, and sometimes we help with a school, the kids' things. In fact, we've got an Americanism and government test coming up this Friday, which is a test for 9th through 12th graders, where they show their proficiency with knowing what the American government is about. So last year, in fact, it's for boys and for girls, 2 of our students actually got the highest in the county, and Tantagany got the highest scores of all the other 4 categories. So that's something we're really proud of, that the the school's teaching enough government, or the kids are learning enough about government to really understand what our government is about. There seems to be when you read things in the news or in media, or what am I trying to say, like Facebook and other things. There's some people that don't really understand how the government's run, and they wonder why X and Y and Z is happening. I may have got off track with your question, so I sometimes my PTSD kind of gets me. My mind doesn't work as well.
I think you're doing just fine. I was just kind of curious, first of all, about the space, because as anyone drives east on West Indiana Avenue towards the library, there on the right, on the south side of the street, is the Schaller Memorial Building. And if you
Yes.
don't really know it's there, you don't know what happens inside of it. I had asked about the meetings on the
Yes.
second Monday of each month. What do you talk about at those meetings?
Well, we talk about things coming up, like say that A&G test, or so, like now this week we got Memorial, or not, excuse me, the Veterans Day weekend. So we've got several occasions where we're going to a business, HIAB, and I don't recall what the acronym is, but they have some veterans in their organization, so they want to recognize them. So we're going to go down there and play the different anthems of the 5 services. Well, there's 6 services with the Space Command, but they don't have an anthem yet. And then present them with flags. And I think the business is going to recognize them in another way. Then we're going down to Waterford Assisted Living. But one of our members lives there. He's 94, my wife's uncle, Bill King. So we're going to go down and fold the flag, explain the 13 folds of the flag, what each fold means, and do the same with the music. And in fact, we have more occasions than I can get to. So some of our other members are going. There's a couple of schools offering a breakfast. So that's a busy weekend. And Memorial Day, we are in the parade, and we do a ceremony at the Fort Meigs Cemetery to recognize all the veterans who passed in the previous year. And during the year, we do other activities to promote veterans, because in the big scheme of things, only 1% of Americans are veterans. So a lot of people don't understand veterans, or they may have some preconceived notion that, that who knows what they think. All in all, whenever I'm seen by people or they talk to me, they say good things. But I'm sure there's others, and I know when Vietnam veterans came home, they were treated really poorly by the general public, and we try to recognize that all veterans and well.
Yes, I have a dad who's a veteran and two grandpas, now deceased, who are veterans, World War II, in fact. I grew up understanding veterans and some of the things that come home with them. What would you like for people in Perrysburg to know about veterans?
That we're though just like regular people, some of us have been places and done things that we don't talk about. The nature of the job is it's not like a regular job where somebody's going to work, say, at a pharmacy or at the grocery store or at a business. So we may have things that affect us either emotionally, because we had a different kind of connection. And I've known a lot of older veterans that were in combat more than I was, that they don't ever talk about what's happening, because it's really difficult, especially if you're talking about something that someone won't even understand. They won't get it, that what we may have went through. Um, so all in all, stay involved in the community and try to do what seems like the best thing to do to promote not only the veterans, but to make the community better.
What are some things that people in Perrysburg can do to honor veterans on a regular basis?
I get a lot of people say, thank me for my service, and I used to be very awkward with that, because I didn't know how to respond. So I now I just say thanks or something. But it's difficult for me because it was a job, and like everybody, well, most everybody has a job. Some people decide not to. So I just accept it and go on. I don't, unless they ask a lot more details. Very few do that, but some do, and they're curious of where I've been or what I've done, or so I could talk about my jobs. I was in 33 years, so I had a few different jobs in the Air Force.
I'd love to hear about your service. Do you mind talking about why you went in to the Air Force and all that good stuff?
I grew up in upstate New York, and I thought about the military, but when I left school, I ended up getting a roustabout job with the carnival. which was really interesting. I fell into that. I was at the state fair in New York, and I was talking to this guy, and they said, "Oh, we're going on to York, Pennsylvania next week." This was back in 1975, and I said, "Well, this sounds interesting," because I grew up working with a family business doing drywall and sheetrock, and it was interesting enough, but it's not something that really grabbed me. So I worked as a roustabout for nearly a year, and then that was okay. And I like to travel, but it was kind of lonely because I was on my own, even though I had other carnival people there. I didn't feel as close. So then I must have been an easy mark for the Air Force because I went down to the recruiter and said, "Here, I want to sign up." And so I didn't even have a job. I didn't have a job thought about what would I do in the military. And so they sent me off to basic training eventually. And this was December. And in February, I went to basic training. And so then I had choices there. There was things they wanted me to do, and I said, "Well, that didn't sound interesting." So I ended up getting into MWR, Morale, Welfare, and Recreation, which was an interesting job because you're running sports facilities or like a rec center, and I really liked that because I'd always been in sports and doing things, so I enjoyed doing that for many years. But then I wanted something more exciting, so then I cross trained to aircraft loadmaster on C-130s, the cargo planes. So you're loading and unloading people, equipment, vehicles, even sometimes airdropping those things, people and the vehicles, not at the same time. But that was interesting. But in 1985, I blew out this eardrum and I couldn't fly as a crew member anymore. I had extensive damage and it had to be surgically repaired. So they sent me back to MWR. I worked there several years. In the early 90s, the military, the Air Force, I couldn't say the military all the way around, they decided to grade every job from 1 to 5. 1 is a critical job. The Air Force needs it. 5 is we don't. So the MWR was a 5. They said, we can get civilians to do that job. So they were looking for a mass volunteers and offering a bonus to get out of the field. And I thought, well, they may tell me, because if I go now, I'll get this much money. If I'm told in 6 months later to go, I'll only get a lot less money. So I took the annual stipend, and a couple of months later, I ended up joining the Air Force Reserve, and they didn't have MWR either, but they had air cargo and freight jobs, which was like being a loadmaster, but not actually flying with a plane. So I had a lot of familiarity. You need high math skills for that because you're computing what the load would be on the floor of the aircraft or on a pallet if they're loaded on pallets, which there's a roller system in the planes. That way, if you're doing the airdrop, they can roll up pretty easy. So I did that for the rest of my career. And then I even added, like the airports where we move passengers. I was in charge of the passenger service section. So I really enjoyed it because I like talking with people. So, and by then I was up to much higher ranks. So I ended up being the supervisor of lots of other people and making sure that it runs smoothly. Everybody knows their job and we get all the passenger or cargo or anything moved most efficiently. In 2009, I had to retire. They only let you do 33 years unless you're an officer and you're in a promoting phase of your career. So then they processed me out. So here I am, retired and doing whatever I can in the community.
That sounds great. You live right here in Perrysburg then, right?
No, I live in Uptown Maumee. They let me
Oh, do
cross the
you?
border without any taxing or any tolls. We have a Legion in Maumee, but at the time my Lions Club met the same night as the Legion. So I ended up joining the one in Perrysburg because my wife's uncle was one of the former commanders, and I knew him really well, so I mixed in with those guys.
Nothing wrong with Mommy. I used to like it better before they fixed the downtown bridge there and turned it from 2
Been a lot
lanes to
of
1.
discussion of all the people that they want to drive through Maumee, but they don't necessarily stop here, so they get frustrated with slower traffic and the other things. And it just happened to be the I-475 construction, the Anthony Wayne construction, and Uptown. So 3 different constructions made it. It's still a hassle. We drive out in the morning, and which way are we going to go today?
I have the same problem. Depending on the time of the day, you've got
Oh.
to roll the dice.
So I not only volunteer with the Legion and the VFW, but been in the Lions Club for 49 years, and that's a community service organization. And all of them, we like to help wherever we can in the community. There's always some people in need who can't, make it on their own. So we try to help them and get them through an avenue that will hopefully assist them.
I have donated many pairs of old eyeglasses to the
Ah,
Lions Club. Is that their mission to help people with sight issues?
that's the major mission. Because back in 1925, Helen Keller at our international convention in Cedar Point, Ohio, asked us to be Knights of the Blind. So that's our major service. But nowadays, any Lions Club can do anything where they think will help in their community. So we do hunger projects, we do the vision. Our newest thing is childhood cancer, because a lot of cancer research money goes to adult cancer. And so we're pushing big to get more to children's pediatric cancer. Uh, but in fact, we save plastic to get a free park bench. You got to save 1,000 pounds of plastic, so it's a lot of plastic. But
Are you guys collecting the bottle caps right now?
well, I am for somebody else. There's always somebody collecting something, so we seem to have bags of stuff. So I know I've got hanging on my pantry door. There's a bag with bottle caps. I'm waiting for someone to say that we collect them, but I'll have a whole bag for them.
Yep.
But they're empty pill bottles we collect through the Lions. It goes through Matthew 25 Ministries in Cincinnati. Because overseas, especially in third world countries, they get medicine and they have nothing to put it in. They put it in their pocket. They roll it in the leaf, or they do it, and they lose their medicine. So we save the bottles. They get the labels, they're taken off, and all that kind of stuff, and then they get recycled in that fashion. They get reused, because it's odd that pharmacies won't let you take your bottle back and just fill it up again. The people that use the same medicine all the time, and it's apparently illegal, or they just don't do that. So there's all these bottles that go into landfills or garbage or whatever, and they don't get reused.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a hygiene practice. As a pharmacist here, I gotta say, I think, you never know where that
Well,
bottle's
yeah,
been.
who knows what?
So
Who knows if they wash their hands? Well, you would hope since COVID that more people wash their hands, but I don't know.
I hope so too. I just had COVID. I thought 3.5 years
Oh,
in, I might be immune, but nope, no such luck.
no, we've had it a couple of times, but for me, it's only been like an irritating 3-day cold, because I've had my booster shots and all that. My wife recently had a little more, not so much serious, but just a prolonged uh, bout with it, and luckily she didn't give it to me.
Well, good, good.
Because I had a soccer tournament to referee, and I didn't want to be sick.
Well, I'm glad that you survived and there was no COVID for you. And it sounds like your wife's doing much better now,
Oh
right?
yeah, because she works in home health care, so it's important for her to be healthy. So she was out for a week or so, not seeing her clients, because some of them are immunity compromised. They're older people and stuff.
Back to the Legion and veterans issues, let's talk about another way that you guys are of service in the community. I understand that you have a feather party coming up on November the 18th. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, it's been an annual thing, except the 2 years during COVID, where we have a bingo operation. We have a wheel where we spin and we give away turkeys and hams. We have a little mini snack bar. We have a raffle. You can buy raffle tickets. And we're giving away a $500, $250, $100 Meyer gift card. And then we have a lot of door prizes. We've had several places donate prizes. I'm still going out to request door prize donations. So it's a nice way for the community businesses to support us. And we will, each time we give out a prize during that evening, we'll announce who donated and stuff, and hopefully people will go with that business and promote that business as well, and make purchases from them or whatever that might be. So it's just a nice festive night where we can share with the community some fun. And I've been the MC many years, because apparently I can talk publicly and joke and have a good time, and it keeps the festive activity going. And we raise money. We hope to be in the plus column. If we find a veteran in need, we try to help them out. Wood County Veteran Services down in Bowling Green, that's one of our resources, that if somebody needs help, we can get them to them, and they have other resources that we don't have. Or if they live in Lucas County, downtown Toledo, there's a similar Lucas County Veteran Services. So And on occasion, we'll find somebody that doesn't live around here, or they're really down and out. And there's Veterans One is a good organization that has housed thousands of veterans through the years. Because sometimes somebody doesn't have enough money to put a deposit down on an apartment or something. They just need that little help to get over, so they have somewhere to live. Because I've never been homeless, so I don't know what it's like, but it's got to be kind of hellish to not know where you're going to sleep that night, or hope that you find. And if the weather's lousy, that's even more of a burden.
Yes. It sounds like the Feather Party is a fundraiser for the Legion Hall there in Perrysburg. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay. And then you use the money to help veterans.
yes. In fact, the hall itself, since the city owns it, they manage all the rentals, because we don't have a bar or a restaurant. It's just a big hall. It does have a nice kitchen and some office space. But the good thing is that the Saturday, Sundays, and Monday rentals, all that income comes to the Legion. For the rest of the week, rentals goes to the city. So we get a check every month from the city, depending on what rentals happen. And I'll be in there during the weekend because I go to the office to check mail, or I do whatever I'm doing. I'm amazed at how many 1 and 2 year old have birthday parties. So I guess so the parents can get together and talk about things, and the kids have their little fun time. But they decorate it up, and it seems like they have a good time. And so it's a nice income source for us to help, like I said, help the veterans that we can help, or work with the children at the school. I think there's a snack program that we're trying to get involved in. Some of the kids go to school, and they may not have a good food opportunities at home. So we try to help with that. The Lions Club and the Legion try to help with that by providing something.
Yet another great thing that the Legion does for Perrysburg. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to the Feather Party, though. Can anybody show up to that?
Yes, we will. Hopefully, we fill the hall. We probably got 100-person occupancy. The bingo in past years has been very popular. And then, of course, spinning the wheel, people get all excited because they won a turkey or a ham, or any of the door prizes. We get some very nice door prizes donated by some local businesses. So it's just a total fun night.
Sounds like fun. How much does it cost to attend?
Actually, coming to the Feather Party is free, but if you want to buy raffle tickets, you get a door prize ticket, but you can purchase more door prize tickets. The bingo, I think it's 50 cents a card, but I could be wrong. Somebody else runs that portion of it. But they buy whatever, how many cards. I've seen some people that are real bingo enthusiasts. They'll have 16 bingo cards in front of them or something. A
Oh,
whole,
jeez.
I don't know how they keep track of it, but they got their dauber and they go. They hear the number. And so, each game has a winner, sometimes multiple winners, depending on if people achieve their bingo at the same time. And in between them calling numbers, I'm on the microphone, spinning the wheel and giving away door prizes. So it's a pretty busy night. In fact, my wife's uncle, his daughter, is our bingo caller. So I've known her ever since I've known my wife. Just about, they're first cousins. So we have a good relationship, and she's been kind enough to volunteer in that position. Since her dad's 94, we've got him a sit-down cashier job, but he's still pretty active. He's out in he's not so much assisted living. He's more living in an apartment, and he's all these girlfriends. Now, he's got all these ladies that never really got involved or played cards. So they're playing Uno like 5 days a week, maybe more. And he has exercise, and he's got his food, the meals that they offer. And he's having a wonderful time as a 94-year-old. He doesn't drive anymore. I pick him up if we go to an occasion or something. And so he has a good time out there. So it's nice that we can keep him involved. I have another 90-year-old veteran who has volunteered to help out as well on Feather Party night. So
I love hearing that he's involved even at the age of 94. That sounds like fun. I love the comment about the girlfriends.
yeah, I
That's
don't know if they're necessarily that kind of girlfriend, but it's funny. It's
friends
almost
that
all
are girls.
playing cards with. He's having a good time because his wife passed several years ago, and so he's staying involved. And I think that's a big important thing for anybody, to be involved and not just sit home and recluse yourself, because then you start getting sad, and maybe you think there's no future if you're sitting alone, and you'll get all kinds of thoughts. We try to keep him involved as much as possible. I'm sure he has several adult children that live locally as well, and lots of grandchildren, great grandchildren, and all that kind of stuff.
That's good. That's part of your overall health, that social piece. I like that.
Yes.
Thanks for telling me about the feather party. It's not just for veterans. Anybody in the community can come out for the feather party, right?
Anybody and anybody, come on and have a good time.
Sounds
Don't come out
fun.
if you're mean.
Don't come out if you're me. No turkey for you. All right. And on the sign out in front of Schaller Memorial, I also saw that you have a photos with Santa opportunity coming up here in November. Would you like to talk about that?
Yes, that's actually sponsored with the Lions Club. A friend of mine, he's been doing Santa Claus and his wife, Mrs. Claus, for 40 years. So I play cards with him and I socialize him with him at the senior center. So he had told me that early on when we'd met him, and I had this idea: what do we have? Photos with Santa, and then since we recycle glasses, we have these hard eyeglass cases, hard shell that have like a spring closure. We've sanitized them, and we let kids, and we've done this a few times, where they can put washi tape and stickers on them, and they decorate them, and they take them home with them. And we always ask them, what would you put in your case? So some of the girls say hair bands and stuff, and the boys say maybe little cars or marbles or anything that they can think of, because we recycle the glasses, but we recycle thousands and thousands of cases. And sometimes, what are we going to do with these? I've got lots of them in my storage. So we're going to have that. We're going to have an information booth about Lions. We want to get people involved in Lions Club if we can, because it's another service organization. We do all kinds of work with that. We've even got Freddie and Frida from BGSU, their mascots. They asked if they could come along. I said, well, sure. Kids will love that. So they're going to give away some goodies and interact with the children. The children basically going to sit on Santa's lap, tell them what they want for Christmas. And we're going to give little bags like with oranges and apples and nuts, unless the kids are, sometimes they're allergic to nuts, but so they'll get the non-nut bags. So and we'll have a little bit of a snack bar, beverages and some light snacks. So we've got all these things going on at the same time. Oh, we're also going to do vision screening. A lot of children maybe have vision problems, and the parents don't know that. They don't know that the kid can't see the whiteboard up at the front of the classroom. So they're going on memory and listening. That instrument's called a plus optics. And it's we don't have to touch them. As long as we can get their attention for a second or two, it can check both eyes, and we can identify that if they probably need to see an actual eye specialist, an eye doctor, optometrist. Some, in fact, most generally are okay, but now and again we'll catch some kid that really has a problem. They can't see at all, or it's just a blurriness and they don't realize it. We also, as Lions, we go on a mission trip to Mexico every year with the Alabama Lions. We generally see about 2,000 people. We do eye exams, we give out glasses. My first year back in 2005, this boy, 11-year-old, comes outdoors and he's looking at everything with his wide eyes. I think everything was a blurry blob to him until then. And all he could speak in English was thank you, thank you, thank you. It just made my day. And I've been on this trip for 20 years now. So it just, I know firsthand that we're helping people. And that's why I stay in Lions and anything else that I feel like I'm helping someone.
You are helping people. That is a great story. I love a happy ending. Thank you for sharing that story.
So, like this past year in July, we actually went to Ecuador on a secondary mission. And this was through an organization called VOS, which is Volunteer Optometrics Serving Humanity. And they were out of Montreal, Quebec. So during this mission, I'm speaking French, English, and there were some Australian doctors there, Australian dialect. So that was a lot of fun. So in fact, we saw 2,557 people on that mission. That was a little longer mission. But again, a lot of fun. We'd never been to Ecuador. That was the reason I chose that mission, because we want to see all we can see while our legs and bodies function well. So we've been to 14 countries since a year ago, September, just traveling around, sightseeing and helping people. That seemed like a win-win to volunteer. You're helping somebody, and we're getting to see someplace we had never been before.
Yes, I love to travel too. It sounds like you do as well.
Yes, I've only been to 54 countries, though, so I've still got so much more to see.
That's a lot of countries. Very cool. Some in the service, I'm sure, but then many after retirement.
I lived in Europe 10 years, and I was in the Middle East for 2 years altogether, different segments of time. So I speak 4 European languages fairly well and a little bit of Arabic. And I picked up some Thai along the way because a lot of when I was early on in the service, a lot of veterans had Asian wives. I assume they still do. So some worked at the chow hall. They like to call it the a different name now. What we call it the chow hall. It's not uh, a bad term. So I'd talk with them every day, and I'd learn. I found after living overseas, languages are easy for me to learn. So I pick up language, and then whenever I get a chance to hear somebody with an accent, I'll often guess correctly, but sometimes wrong, where they're from, and I get to interact with them for a few minutes. I've been a soccer referee for 46 years, so a lot of our coaches are immigrants. So I'll get to speak with somebody from Ireland or England or one friend of mine from Nigeria or some other place, and it's just interesting for me to connect with people by either have been to their country or speak some of their language. I enjoy that.
I think that's very cool. I enjoy linguistics, probably because I'm a pharmacist by training, and I feel like pharmacology is its own language. And I learned German as a child, so I speak pharmacy, I speak German, and I do a little bit of American Sign Language. I can't keep up with you, sir, but I think it is very cool that you are multilingual.
Well, after learning German, I learned most of my languages in the streets because I just get out, I talk to people, and added to that, when I got to Germany in 1978, I got to meet my grandfather's siblings, and I wanted to be able to speak to them, not have to speak to an interpreter to them. So I just picked it up, and initially I'd go to visit because they lived a couple hours from where I live, and they said, "Oh, your German's not that good." But last time I was there, they never said anything about my German. I guess it was either better or they put up with me because they have a different dialect than I lived in Frankfurt. So my dialect is more, we call Hochdeutsch, High German, the book German. Or you get to southern Germany, where my family is, a Schwabia. They have a sing-songy dialect. And then northern Germany has what they call Plattdeutsch, which is the Low Deutsch, Low German, which is a lot closer to Dutch. In fact, if you look at English, Dutch, and German, you can see the transition of how the languages matured. Because English has grabbed words from everybody else's language, and we mash it all together and break all the rules. I mean, there's silent letters, there's not silent. You look at this word and you think it. People that learn English as a second language have a daunting task because it's not such easy. Like German is real easy, other than the first verb is like what we would use it, but any other verbs at the end of the sentence. I think they designed that so you have to listen to the wow they say before you talk.
Yeah, and in German also they put the verb tense, so you don't know if it's past tense or present tense
Right.
until you get to the end as well. Yeah.
And other languages have a feminine, masculine, or neutral sense where English we don't. So you never know what something is until you actually learn it.
You learned by doing.
Because I can listen to people and I can sound like them because I can mimic them. I always make sure I know what I'm saying. I don't want to say something that's wrong, get slapped or beat up or something. But I sound like a local, even though I have limited vocabulary sometimes. But I can build on what I do know and learn new things that way, or learn different dialects. Because the Spanish of Ecuador is different than the Spanish in South Florida or Barcelona or Sevilla, Spain. I can pick up words, or even in the English in Boston or the English in Texas. It's a different language. Some people think American's not a different language. It is. It's different than British English
Oh, yeah, totally. Yep, they pronounce things a little bit different for sure.
or different words. Uh,
Yes. Elevators are lifts over there. Yep.
yes,
Yeah, it takes a little while to catch on.
we were 5 weeks in the UK and Ireland last fall, so it was wonderful to visit where my mother's side of the family came from. Well, some of my dad's came from Northern Ireland and Scotland, but we got to visit places where my family lived, or the old castle that used to be ours to one of my great grandfathers lived beyond his means, and his means were quite well, but he had to sell the castle in the 1600s. So now, but 16 of my relatives are buried in the chapel that's still within the castle. So that was quite chilling for me to visit and see some of my roots.
Good for you, just having the ambition to travel and explore, reconnect with your relatives overseas, and
Yeah.
see all the things. I think that's great.
I did meet a shirt-tail cousin in southwestern England. I went to this little village of about 250 people, and one of my great grandmothers had come from there. So I was just doing some genealogy research. My wife and I are both genealogists. We had lunch and we were wandering around. My wife's a photoholic. So we saw this lady gardening, and I said, "Oh, do you know any Langdons?" Well, her husband was a Langdon, so her husband was my cousin. But his sister, two doors down, two houses down, is the genealogist. So we went to her house, we knocked on the door, and she answered her. I already knew we were coming. It's that small a village where everybody knows what's going on. So we sat for hours in her kitchen, dining room, and talked about genealogy and family. And it was just wonderful to sit with somebody and learn some things about that branch of the family. In fact, I've got a nice box of goodies going to her as soon as I get it ready to mail.
Very cool. It's like a hobby.
Oh, yes. My mother's maiden name was Hungerford, and the Hungerfords were one of the most affluent families in England until the one cousin, did. He was a gambler apparently and other things. So he lost more money than he had. So he had to sell the castle. He sold it in 1600s for £59,000, which is probably equivalent to about £5 million now. Nobody wants to go to prison, especially a rich guy, to go to debtor's prison. It's just not on your list of things to do. So yeah, he had to sell that. So the rest of the family still had other holdings throughout England, but that part of the branch had a little rough time because the first Speaker of the House of Commons was one of my great grandfathers. The Exchequer, the Treasurer of England, was one of my great grandfathers. He worked for Henry VIII. So it's interesting to read public documents and read about my own family and what they did. And they were members of Parliament and knights and all that kind of good stuff. Tragic for some. Others, one was beheaded at the Tower of London with Thomas Cromwell. So that was bad news.
That is bad news.
Yeah.
We're getting way off topic. I'm
We
sorry.
are.
I'm going to rein you in.
Like I told you, we get talking.
Oh, I love genealogy and I appreciate you sharing yours. It's very, very interesting. But as we kind of start to wrap this interview up, what would you like the veterans who are either presently living in the Perrysburg area or looking to move here? Maybe they're from Toledo or they're moving in because they just got out of the service. They're looking for a place to grow some roots. What would you tell them about the Perrysburg Legion Hall? Is there room for them there? What do you think?
Yeah. In fact, we need a lot of younger veterans. Our honor squad goes out and does the rifle detail for funerals and for parades. Some of these guys are 90 years old. The M1 rifle is very heavy, and it's getting more difficult for the older veterans. I'm one of the younger veterans at 66 participating. So we'd like to get younger veterans that would like to make a difference, or they want to get some leadership opportunities. Maybe they already have had leadership in the military. Military teaches that to move up, you've got to be a good leader and know how to guide people and get things done. So we want the younger veterans to come and participate. And many of our members don't come to meetings. So we're trying to make it more interesting, make some things going on. But I need some younger veterans. They're going to think of things that I'm not going to think of for activities. I just got a new veteran that's less than 30 years old, and a young man. He's got his own business in town, and he's joined us, and I'm looking forward to that. And I've got a woman who's a retired Coast Guard. So there's we don't have very many women veterans involved. So if we can get more younger veterans with ideas, we can evolve to that next level and get some more things going on, because we don't have the bar and restaurant. So there's some people only want to go to the bar and they don't want to be in our Legion post because we don't offer that. And frankly, if you only want to go to the bar, I perhaps don't. Though I do have a drink now and again, it's not the driving force of my life. So if that's all that they're looking for, then they probably want to get to another post. But we really want to get more things going on. I think we do a lot, but we could do more.
I see you guys out there raising the flag at football games and leading parades. I know that at Woodlands Park, you have the flag recycling bin, right?
That's an actual Boy Scout project, but one of our members is a Boy Scout leader, as he helped guide that. So that was an Eagle Scout project several years ago. So yes, they collect flags there. We also collect flags in the front of the post. There's a big barrel there that people can drop flags off. And on Flag Day, we generally have a ceremony. This past year, we didn't do it, but we get the flags ceremony to retire those flags, because once they're wore out, we encourage people to put new flags up. Don't put a frayed flag flying in the breeze. Once it's used its time, put up a new flag. And we do sell flags, and they're sold at different places in town. But we have flags available for purchase. We also supply all the flags you see on Louisiana Avenue to the city. We supply them annually. As they tell me what they need, we order them and get them to them.
Craig, how can a younger veteran who's maybe just left the service get in touch with the Legion Post 28 in Perrysburg so they can get involved and be active?
They can contact me either by phone, email. I'm on Facebook. We also have a Facebook page for the Legion, and we're connected to the city's Facebook pages. There's two of them that I'm aware of. When we announce activities, we have more resource to get it out. We also get it in the paper. And there again, if we got some younger veterans, maybe they're into a lot more of this media that I'm involved in Facebook, but I don't get some of the other media things, Instagram. Although I've heard of them, but I really don't know the full extent of what they're good for. And I'm sure there are good things for them, but it's some of us older. It's kind of taxing to learn all these things. It's too much. But yes, we would like to get some younger veterans and their ideas and their hands. Like any organization, we need hands to get jobs done. You have to have a meeting now and again for anything you want to do. If you want to organize a walk, or you want to organize a party or a gathering, somebody's got to do the organizing. Everybody just can't show up and hope that it works. Things don't happen on their own. So community involvement is good for every organization.
Community involvement is good for every organization. And I hope that you attract some younger veterans who can set you up with an Instagram page. I don't know about TikTok. I'm not into TikTok
Yes,
myself.
I've seen these things, but I don't know much. I think that's mostly photos, the TikTok, or videos. But yes, I don't know either. But I know city or county or federal government can only do so many things, and volunteer organizations pick up the slack for what can't be done, or there's not enough money to do by government. That's where some people heard of NGO, non-government organization. That's what a lot of these nonprofits are. And we are a nonprofit. We don't make any money ourselves for the members, but we make money to use to whatever best way we think that can be used.
I think that's great. You have a lot of good intention. And might I just say that veterans in general are not very self promotional. And I think that's why we don't always see that big social media presence from the Legion, because you guys aren't, necessarily promoting what you're doing. You're just doing it. You guys
Right.
show up though.
We want to put some things in to show the public that, because some people have the perception we're old guys that drink and talk stories. And perhaps we do some of that, but it's not our most focused, you know.
I'm smiling because you just described my grandpa Frank. in Pemberville, they had, the kegs of beer, and they would sit around and drink and talk, but they also showed up when there was the Memorial Day ceremony and the parade and Veterans Day celebration and all that. So there was a good mix. I'm smiling because I've got good memories.
They have a nice post over there next to the library in Pemberville, and we
Yes.
have our county council meeting, and it goes around to different posts during the year. So we meet over there once a year. In fact, my wife's family reunion will be over there because her family came to America in 1844 and settled east of Pemberville on a farm. It's still been in the family, but I know my wife's cousin passed, and his wife isn't able to keep up the farm. So I think it's for sale or has been sold. So we don't know the results of that yet. I know he wanted, when he was alive, to turn it into a metro park for Wood County, but I don't know how that went, because the house looks like somebody lives there. It's kept up beautiful with a barn and all that, and they have family gatherings have been there in the past.
Well, it sounds like your next genealogy project might be that, right?
It could be. There's always something going on.
Awesome. Well, I love that you're keeping busy, not only volunteering, but you've got personal interests, travel, and so on. Thank you for everything that you do for Perrysburg, even though you live in Uptown Maumee. And thanks for everything you do with the Lions Club, too. It's been a pleasure talking with you today. At this time, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, just when you put this out, just share out my email and my phone number, and that where I'm on Facebook, and if any veteran want to get a hold of us, or even non-veterans, if they have any questions, because maybe somebody has a veteran family member that needs some assistance, and we don't know that. So if you share that, somebody would better get a hold of me, and we can discuss it at our meeting and or alleviate the problem or help in any way we can help, or find them someone that really can help them if you can't help them.
I will do that. I will put your phone number and your email address and a link to the Perrysburg Legion Hall Post 28 in the show notes on perrysburgpodcast.com.
Great.
Thank you so much for being with me today.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to episode 16 of the Perrysburg Podcast. Please visit perrysburgpodcast.com to read the show notes. In the show notes, you'll find Craig Gauger's contact information, a link to American Legion Post 28's Facebook page, a link to the City of Perrysburg's website in case you're interested in renting the Schaller Memorial Building, and more. If you know someone who might be interested in joining Post 28 or renting the Schaller Memorial Building, please share this episode with them. And if you like this podcast, please subscribe to or follow the Perrysburg Podcast on your favorite podcast player and YouTube to get each new episode right when it comes out. Thanks for listening this week, and thank you, veterans, for your service. I'll talk to you next week.